And then you wake up.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Life is People. Tonight in the rather windy Highlands of Scotland, and I don't know what the weather's like now. What's the weather like over your way, Ryan?
You're gonna have to speak up, Tim. I can't hear you.
I think, I'll say, man, what's the weather like over your way, my man?
Oh, it's cold. I think it was -7.
Um, okay, so from two rather cold parts of the world, that's a welcome you. Tonight we're trying to get our heads around bad ideas. And I thought, I thought this is very sort of appropriate with what's going on right now in the world, I suppose, which I suppose is true every day that is, from now to the future, because I'm sure the world will always be full of bad ideas. But again, we're going to I want to sort of start this conversation really, with your film, Ryan, and I watched it again last night, and one of the sort of questions I'd like to sort of ask you was, was really why of all the, when I now seen the film, I'll try to get this question to you more around that way. After watching the film, I was wondering, my question to you is, why did you call the film Bad Ideas specifically? There's the myriad of, sort of subjects you tackle with a lot of issues and go deep on a lot of things, and I just wondered why you had it called Bad Ideas. So over to you.
Oh, jeez. I think well, obviously, the stranger, the main character, argues a lot with the voices in his head, and they see that he has multiple voices, but what it eventually boils down to is the two voices, which I've explained to you as one is the ego and one is the inner child. And I just felt like they're both always at ends with each other, and they're always fighting. And the ego, like, I don't even want to go into what each one's goals and motives were, but it just seemed like a lot of people, when we're going through decision making process and stuff like that, you don't most people hopefully don't just one answer pops up, and hopefully most people don't just go towards that one idea. Hopefully they can think outside of the box and think of, okay, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And keep adding them up and keep adding them up. And uh, the name actually came, one of the things I kind of wanted was, I grew up loving mainstream movies and things like that, and sort of all the cliches that came with that, which was kind of that cheeky one-liner that would eventually become the tagline, and even taglines in general, like that sort of thing. And so in the back of my head, as I was writing it, I kind of, I wanted something that would really be a really good tagline. And it came to me when I was writing the scene where all these ideas, or the two ideas, were arguing with the stranger in the forest when he digs a hole in the snow and finds a uh, what I would have said would have been like a patch of ice or a water, but actually it turned out to be some sort of just a mirror world into another place. And he could visualize his ideas in this mirror. So he's sitting there arguing with this hole of water in the snow, and he sees his own reflection. His ideas just keep arguing with him, telling him, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, this is what's going to happen. And he doesn't follow it. He doesn't he doesn't even understand it. I mean, that's one of the things I've tried to explain to people about The Stranger, is that he is like the audience. He is learning about the story and the movie just the same as everybody else is. And you've seen the ending. The ending was pretty much somebody turning off the movie, him just having enough. And what he's already tried to commit suicide multiple times throughout the movie, and it never works. So his last resort is a sort of existential, metaphysical happening, without giving too much information away. But yeah, he goes outside the normal realms, the normal boundaries, and once again, as he was arguing with the voices in the snow, he's just kind of realizing, Um, it's as much as I'm going through these two voices and they're both giving me their opinion and what I should do, he doesn't agree with either of them. So he eventually he's looking in the mirror and he does his little cheeky tagline of, bad ideas, all of them, and pretty much saying, I'm not going to be held prisoner by these ways of thinking and ways of doing things. So, and that was kind of what Bad Ideas was about, was somebody being, we've joked about it before that, the rules that are established, we didn't establish them. We weren't there for that. We weren't part of the voting process. We were born into it, and we were born into this life and this supposed way of perfect living, which you can look around and obviously see it's not a perfect way of living. And so that was kind of another statement on society, was just looking around and thinking, bad ideas, all of them. Like, what are we doing? We're dividing, we're conquering, we're separating, we're segregating ourselves from ourselves. And the more we do that, obviously, the further we're going to get from being ourselves, or being able to get close to each other, because we are constantly fighting. And that's one of the things that Bad Ideas was about, was those, just me sort of looking around. I can't even tell you what age it was. But yeah, I've talked about my sort of wake up moments, and yeah, it's very surreal to think that the ideas that are presented to you are merely a stepping stone, and it's not something that's written in set stone. It's not law. It's not or it's not an internal law. Like, there are no internal moral codes written inside of us. Everything is constantly changing, and that was basically where Bad Ideas came from. Was that there was just uh, in America, I can't even tell you the astronomical amount of laws that we have, and I still see people wanting more laws. So what was it in I think in Seattle, I think it was in Seattle, they passed a law where no food waste was allowed to go into trash. And I don't know the extent of the punishment to that, but I'm assuming you could get a ticket for throwing a piece of pizza in the trash. And it's one of those things where it's like, there are good intentions behind it, but we can't just keep building more and more laws. We have to change people's minds to understand, why would you get a ticket for putting food in the trash? And it's just these ideas that keep building and building and building. And for some new life form to come here and for us to try to explain to them this life here in America, or over in Scotland, or anywhere around the world, for us to try to explain social politics or life in general to uh, another life form, is just so bizarre and so out there, and it's almost impossible to even attempt to do such a thing. And Bad Ideas is just, that's exactly what it is. It's just, there's so many bad ideas out there, but people will gravitate towards them for the idea of virtue and good, and for doing good for others. But at the same time, at their core are still bad ideas. We all want to do good, but that doesn't mean we have to go out and do stupid things just to do good. And Bad Ideas was, yeah, my just saying that, even the movie compared to mainstream movies, like, just bad ideas, all of them.
Right, yeah, 100%. Right. I mean, and I think what you're tapping into there is a very sort of valid point about. I think the whole concept of bad ideas in general being the very fact that every one of the bad ideas will always start with a good intention. And it's one of the things that we've spoken about a few times in the podcast, with people, etc. And you've spoken about it, right? Is that I've said many times that America was a perfect experiment, and you were just saying about America, but the whole of your, let's say, recent history, because America's itself goes back a long, long time. That's another discussion. But generally, to say your last sort of, what you know as in the United States, that was based on an idea that to form a government in the smallest possible way, because they knew the dangers of government. And as we've discussed many times in this podcast, that's grown about the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, now the health industrial complex. All these complexes have grown out of something that was started off with a really good intention, and it's just blown out. And this is where, like you said, all bad ideas start with good intentions. But what we hit the nail very pertinently on the head was when you said that it's the stupidity of going with the wrong idea. And this is in essence what I think all bad ideas stem from. Is basically when we which is I think ties in your film favour and your work as well. What we're talking about is the biggest mistake and the biggest bad idea is when we separate ourselves from nature or the surroundings around us. We say it many times, we're just on a rock that's tumbling through space. And we live inside a marble that is literally tumbling through the universe. And everything that is around us is what we are. And the minute we try to separate ourselves from it and do things that are outside of that, these are what we can class in historic terms the stupid ideas, the bad ideas, or the ideas that people have just with stupidity gone along with just because, like you said, the herd mentality, or because everybody does. That's an interesting concept as well. I mean, that's one of the things I'd love to talk to you tonight about is what makes the herd decide with the stupidity. I mean, why do so many people go? I mean, we joke about at times related to film. Let's start with this very point. I mean, we talk about a lot with films. Why are so many people going out and watching, I don't know, Frozen and watching the next Disney film, or or the next
Well,
Pixar film?
Disney and Fro. I haven't seen Frozen, but I don't know. There's always going to be that need for the Disney movies and stuff for kids and whatever. But I mean, we've talked privately before about just how even kids movies nowadays are just really stupid, and that's not in any other sense than the fact of they're not intelligent films. I mean, so much money gets spent on this stuff. They're really well done. It looks really good. It sounds really awesome. But the I don't want to say the dialogue, but just the everything in general about it is very tame and very basic and very I don't know. I guess I want to say unmotivating or uncreative. And I was talking to you about some of the stuff that I grew up with, and I watched it. I actually watched it die because I have never not been into the things from my childhood. I made it a specific thing. I think might have been 6 or 8 months into like doing research and working on bad ideas that I actually went back and looked and was like, I got to find all this stuff from my childhood. Like, I need to find these movies, I need to find these TV shows, I need to know why I watched them, I need to know like what was it about. And some of the ones I've told you, like Ren and Stimpy, uh, what was it like Ren and Stimpy, Salute Your Shorts. Pete and Pete is one of my favorite shows. I think it's one of the greatest TV shows ever made. And one of the things that goes into me saying something of like this is the best ever made, meaning it can be for kids as well as adults, meaning all ages, all races, all anybody. And that's really you know that when I say something's the best, that's kind of what I mean it for, is that it is an all spanning. You can watch this with anybody anytime, and it's great. But yeah, I love Pete and Pete, man. It's a great show. But so I went back and watched all of them, and they were extremely smart shows, and especially on Nickelodeon when I was growing up, the TV shows were actually written by adults for kids with I've heard them specifically say this, like they were written for kids with the intention that they are intelligent beings. And then you see stuff nowadays and it's really not. It's not challenging, it's not moral in any way, it's not open-minded, it's just kind of jokey, hokey, whatever. And it's got some jokes here and there, but comedy's everywhere. I don't. A lot of people, you can laugh 100 times a day, 1,000 times a day. I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't, or I'm sure there's not a lot of people that don't laugh a whole lot throughout the day because we laugh. That is what we do. Comedy and that sort of thing is everywhere. But for people that go to these movies, I don't know. The mainstream has always been looked at as a pinnacle of sort of the technology and creativeness and things like that. And I don't know. I think it's just easier. I guess I would actually, yeah, it's probably just easier. It's convenient. So people can just get Netflix, and then next thing you know, Netflix is telling everyone what to watch, and everyone's watching the same thing because they're all just going to Netflix. And they won't go out and seek to rent a movie from somewhere else. And why the fuck would they? They're paying for Netflix. Just because you want to watch something at that time, people won't necessarily go out to find it just because they have Netflix, which has its certain amount of movies, and then next semester they'll put up another set of movies, and it'll be different. And it's cheap, it's convenient, people can get into it. As far as like finding movies, like I usually go on eBay and I will go through thousands and thousands and thousands of movies in one sitting, just kind of flipping, going through, seeing what I can find cheap. And I found a ton of really good movies, and I'll buy them just for a look. I'll see the cover, I'll see that, and I'll be like, hey, I'm sure that's going to be awesome. And there have been very few times where I've been disappointed. And yeah, I think, and people a lot of times they know what they're getting into when they go, when you see the list of movies playing and it's Fast and the Furious and Transformers and Frozen and uh, The Interview, you know what you're getting in for. You know what you're gonna get when you buy that shit. When I go on eBay and buy a DVD for like, $2 used and get it sent to my house, most of the time I have no idea what I'm in for. But that's usually why I buy movies. Like I want to be surprised. I haven't seen a Transformers movie, but I'm absolutely positive that nothing in that movie would surprise me. I don't think I would be like, wow, you know what, Transformers 3 is actually an undiscovered gem. I'm a believer now. Like, I know that's not going to happen because I've been let down by the mainstream so many times over the years that I just don't even bother anymore. And then when I've gone to people's houses and they've been watching this stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, like I know what it's about. Harold and Kumar 3, like, yeah, I saw the first one. I'm pretty sure I know what the third one's about. So there's nothing new there for me. But then I get something that I've never heard of that I know absolutely nothing about what it's about. Like, throw that in, and then my mind is blown. Like, whoa, never thought that was gonna happen. Blah blah blah. And yeah, I don't know. I think people just want they like the convenience of it. They go to Netflix. I'll find full movies on YouTube a lot and bookmark them. And if I don't get to it fast enough, that sucker will get taken off. But yeah, I'll find tons of rare movies, hard to find movies, unreleased movies, and there's still for me, it could be so cheesy and some cheesy 80s horror movie, but at the same time, it's gonna kill my hour and a half just as much as the CGI fuckfest down at the movieplex. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Ryan. I mean, by definition, the reason that the mainstream is called the mainstream is because of that very nature. They're good in. I mean, let's take the devil's advocate side. So I'm head of NBC. My argument to you would be, well, we have a bigger audience that if we don't swear and we don't do this, so they cater for their audience. Now, there's an argument. This is a debate we can have equally, which came first? Have they created the audience or the audience demanding? That's kind of what I was trying to ask you. Do you think the audience out there is demanding Frozen, or do you think they're just being born to this? So it's kind of like a vicious circle. That's what I'm trying to get to.
um, here's the thing: if you had some low budget indie kids film, and it was the same like adventurous type thing as Frozen, and then you had Frozen, they usually the mainstream isn't going to take that chance of playing the two at the same time. And even if they did, people are going to generate towards Frozen because once again they're going to think, oh, it's this big blockbuster. It has all these stars in it. It has all this CGI special effects, and automatically and this is what is really really stupid is y- and it was there. I think it's probably been there since the beginning. But everybody's had this idea that if an actor that they quote unquote like is in a movie, that movie is automatically going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So they see somebody like Angelina Jolie, and they're like, "Oh, Angelina Jolie wouldn't do a bad movie," and so they'll go out and see whatever said Jolie movie is playing, and most of the time it's just kind of like this. Yeah, a lot of people seem to like Frozen, but for the most part, when something like that comes out, you just kind of hear like, "Oh, it was good," or "Oh, it was pretty bad," and you don't people don't really expunge on it. They're not all that excited to talk about it, whether they like it or hate it, and that's what the mainstream kind of is for me. And if you were to play an indie film next to a mainstream movie, people would still gravitate towards that mainstream movie just because it is mainstream. But I don't think they would enjoy it any less if they went and saw the other one. I think the only thing they would really feel like they're missing out on is that mainstream Frozen hype, because they're going to be in the waiting area and they're going to see all these little kids dressed up and having McDonald's plastic toys and just causing a ruckus and a mess, and then you're going to see, the kid who's not going to see Frozen, and he's not going to be dressed like an idiot, and he's not going to be running amok inside the movieplex, and yeah, I think they're selling an image with the mainstream as well, and especially with kids in a movie like Frozen and the song and obviously that whole shite. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the audience really creates it, but at the same time, I think they would be really pissed off if you took away Frozen and just put up the indie kid film.
Yeah. I mean,
But
when,
but I think a lot of people would go to the indie kid film. I think there's a lot of really smart parents out there that would be like, one weekend they would take them to Frozen, next weekend you take them to indie film. Like, what's the big deal? There's no harm in it. You've already seen the Frozen. You've already hopped on that bandwagon, and then, who knows? Maybe your kid's actually gonna like the more, creative, uh, not not the big budget movie, but the more creative one, obviously. So
yeah, that's the thing, man. You can replace the word Frozen or Angelina Jolie, but anyone. I mean, that goes throughout time and history. I mean, you always had this herd mentality to go towards certain things. Whether it's been writers. I mean, why do we know about why do we know about Shakespeare? I mean, that's one of the things I would ask people to go and read the history of Shakespeare. We read Shakespeare because it was a very cut and throat way that we all remember Shakespeare. But that's like everything we talked about in this podcast before. This is the history written by people that are a long time dead. But the point being, I'm trying to make, Ryan, is that this adulation of heroes and has gone on throughout history and time. I mean, right back, I mean, you can argue how far back in our culture and right back to in our evolutionary processes goes back to. I mean, and it's all the same thing. And it wasn't that long ago. You're only talking what 2 millennia, which is a snap in the heartbeat of the universe. It's a blink. It's 2,000 years ago, and there was crowds of 50, 60,000 people all turning up to watch human beings being ripped apart by lions. I mean, that was kids and all. That was seen as entertainment because they had to go and see their heroes. Now, so it's a real part of human nature. I'm sure if you went back to the Mayans, and there's always been these herds following it, and it's what I'm trying to sort of like delve into. And I don't know, it's one of the sort of questions I really want to open up tonight. Is this part of something that we're innately born as the moment we've come out and we've dropped onto this planet? Is that something that we've got an innate generic thing inside us, or a sense, or whatever we want to call it, of always wanting to huddle towards the herd, and whatever that herd does, we don't ever question it? Or is that something that we learn? Because it's one of the questions that we've been kind of like knocking around for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It was only a very short period of time ago in history that there was a massive rise of of the Nazi Party, and how so many people got completely blinded by an ideology, and fell into this illusion of this man who basically, let's put down this, break it right down. He was a failed artist. Now, if I'm just back in the day, I've always considered once back in the day that someone actually praised him for his artwork. Then we would never had that dream. We would have had that simulation of what we had, but it happened. And the thing was, it wasn't just a story. This is real people, and real people bled into that ideology, And then, and I've talked about this before, when I lived down in Argentina, it was full of people who just fled down to Argentina and they just, and they lived there and retired there and, it was like it never happened. Now, they had the advantage of back in the day that they could easily lose their identity. They could, tear up their ID papers and they go down to another country and live in a little community and start again. But we live in a generation, as we all know, and how many times have you talked about this, and I've spoken about this, but we live in an age where people are willing to give every one of their secrets out on Facebook and every one of their secrets out on Twitter. The idea of privacy is gone. So the idea that we could easily, as a human right, part of our human condition, we could all fall under a spell of it. We could all go under a complete spell and could all fall for one hero and that hero could tell us to all jump off a cliff and we'd all do it because it's all we're under that illusion. And when it's all sort of like that bad ideas as it would do, fizzle out and it all fade away because it's inevitable, as it was with all these ones that rise to the top, they're always going to fail because central control is always going to be a weakness. That's another discussion. But generally, when it all does fade away, it happens now. We haven't got the chance to quietly just meld back into the background because all our lives are there. They've got it all. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things that, okay, if we've given our lives away, which is what people have done right now, and this is what we talk about and what we're trying to build is hopefully is a new future where privacy can be built again. But if we live in a world where we understand we have given it all away, then we've got to fight, which is a bigger question, the human condition. This human condition that this blindly follows leaders and it blindly follows people that because they have the perfect smile or the perfect figure or because they say the right things or because they do the right things and because they act in the correct way that's been told to us that we blindly follow them. And we can have whether it's like I said before, whether it's Angelina Jolie in Frozen or whether it's Adolf Hitler or whether it's Barack Obama. I mean, everyone fell under the spell of Barack Obama, and no one ever questioned it. And that's whether you agree with his politics or not. But how many people just fell under the illusion of it? We had it over here with Tony Blair. People just fell under the spell of this man, and it was like, what happens to the human mind to do that? And I think you're not going to hear this discussion spoke about, like you said, in the mainstream, because the mainstream's got no intention to have this discussion. So we have to have this discussion, and it's one of the things that I really want to just open up to you tonight with, because it's through this discussion we can maybe find some good ideas, and as a human demons, and we keep saying over and over again, and we can start slaying positive in a world full of negative, bad ideas.
Yeah, that's like I said, that was kind of what the ending of Bad Ideas was me reaching a point of I'm not going to play by that world because that is not the real world. That is your sort of not yours, but just everybody else's, I guess, sort of domed in, secluded idea of what civilization is supposed to be and supposed to do. And if anybody wants to go back and watch Aaron on what podcast was that, Tim?
15.
15, you'll quite soon discover that the ideas of civilization are basically wrong. And what we're doing is I don't possibly a bad idea, but basically in the scope of things, just not required and not what's supposed to happen. And it's easy to say, this isn't right, this isn't supposed to happen. Well, Ryan, what is supposed to happen? And uh, basically, you take money out of the equation, and I'm not one of those guys that's like money's the root of all evil, but you take money out of New York City, and nobody's going to go there. Nobody's going to be there. That's the reason people do go to these cities is because they are generating revenue. They are making money. You can go there and make money, and then everyone keeps going there and going there and going there. And we are like the only species that I think lives on currency, and so yeah, it's just they're all bad. Not necessarily. It's the thing is that there are bad ideas and good ideas, but it's how we act on them. And so you can have all the bad ideas in your head that you want, and it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It matters what they do. and it matters. Action is the thing that makes us human, especially or human to one another. If I just sit here and think and not say anything and not do anything, then I'm really not doing any good for me or anyone around me. So it is our actions and the way we communicate. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, if you go back and look at 15 with Aaron, we've veered off a path. We've veered off and basically think that we are masters and controllers of our own destiny. And yeah, that's not true. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, or as, you know what I mean? It's just, it was something that we were discussing in the last podcast with Terrace. We've all got to learn just to question everything. It's a simple, I don't know, I mean, I think the trouble with life in general is that human beings are seduced by difficult paths and difficult tasks. Do you know what I mean? And if anyone comes along and says, do you know, there's an easy way of doing something, people automatically think, oh, that can't be right. But actually, a lot of things is very easy. Like you just said, it's very simple. It's live in the moment and question everything. Or if we break it right down to the basis of it, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, and enjoy yourself. And other than that, life's just a set of like we keep saying, we're just a rock tumbling through space, and it's quite simple, really. And I think the trouble is that we live in a world where it's, like I said, we're almost conditioned to be seduced by difficult things. And sometimes, as we know, some of the best ideas in the world have been the most simplest ideas that everyone overlooked and said, that's a bad idea, but it's very simple. And they always are inherently covered by nature. And one of the perfect examples of that, and I'm sure you have in the States, is the little lights in the middle of the road, the cat's eyes, which is a simple concept of like, well, a light in the cat's eyes. Do you know what I mean? It took an ages to make that, and then now we think, oh, if only I thought of that. And it's like I'm sure Tesla's all his thought process would be like, well, come on, people, it's simple. But because you get seduced by difficult concepts, it's like Aaron said. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need the creative people to tell the scientists that the moon is made of cheese just to make them go to prove them wrong. I think it was a genius. That was a very genius concept. That you know,
Well, they might not think of any other reason why they would have to figure out what the moon's made out of until some idiot shows up and he's like, it's made of cheese.
exactly, man.
The scientist is like, he looks up from his microscope and he's like, who the fuck is this guy? The moon is made of cheese. Like, I'm just gonna go up there and figure you wrong just to be a bitch because you're annoying me.
But it's
I'd
like
like to give, I'd like to give a shout out to Honey Brown Ale right now.
okay,
Tall boy.
okay, fair enough. We're that point in the podcast.
Yep. We're advertising now. I'm really hoping that they're gonna send me some tall boys.
But I mean, that is the essence of everything, really, isn't like, beyond just sleeping when you're tired and eating when you're hungry. It's just basically question. It's just basically just questioning things, and like I think that's one of the things I love about what you expressed in that movie is, like you said, it's the ability to stop and go, well, it's when you don't question things that I think stupid ideas form, because it's like you said, it's that laziness, it's that sitting in the chair and, like you said, it's not becoming a human being, and you just almost losing the essence of what you're here for, which is to question, which is why we're on this planet. It's just that all the time this probe, and then judge by the questions we ask, and we can judge then with a bit of intelligence. Well, put it this way, intelligence works over brute force. It always has and always will.
Mm, always.
And you don't gain intelligence by not questioning things. And that's what I loved about what Aaron was saying. Even science, as we talked about before, even science, religion, politics, it all become dogmatic. And from the dogma comes fanaticism. And I mean, before you know it, you don't want to, as Ryan was saying, I mean, I would honestly encourage yourself and everyone else that's listening to this, whoever we are out there, two or three people, but go and read Aaron's his web page, because he's got a great web blog, and he's very pointless, the idea of always opening yourself up to questioning and using your own rationale and instinct, and not to be caught in dogma. Wherever that dogma may rise, which is the point we're trying to say, that dogma rose in politics, it rose in the marriage of politics and religion. Like I was saying in Rome, it can arise in entertainment. This dogma can rise in anything, like you said, and that dogma can go from Hitler right through to, like you said before, like, oh, I must go and see an Angelina Jolie movie, or Brad Pitt's going to be in the movie, I've got to go and see it, and then I mean, and don't get me wrong, I am not looking down at anybody. I mean, I was the same. People that know me before, like up to 2000. No, I was like, I watched every single De Niro film, every single Pacino film. I watched every single one of them, and I used to be so like dogmatic about them, like the top two boys. And that's why I kind of like loved it when they came to Different Heat. And then I don't know whatever happened in the year 2000, but they, now look at them. Now, if I was still on that dogma and I hadn't shaken myself from that, I would still be sitting here trying to say to you, "Oh, you've got to go see the latest Pacino one, where or De Niro one where he's a wizard or something." I don't know, but you've got to lose your intelligence over your, silliness and stupidness, which is basically going, look, shake that dogma off because we're all suffering from it. Each and every one of us. It's part of the human condition.
I want to see De Niro as a wizard. I'm sure when they come out with probably like a third or fourth Lord of the Rings spin-off, I'm sure you'll see De Niro playing Gandalf.
Well, no, it's true, but it was so true. I mean, we talk about films a lot. I mean, that's why I never get dogmatic about anyone because as much as I love, we talk about, you know, we've talked about Barry Lyndon before. I love Kubrick, but I'm not going to sit and die for all his films. I mean, I'm not going to go, oh, it's because it's a Kubrick. Oh, it's, because he's done some ropey shit, man. And I think they're all guilty of it. You have to judge a work what it stands alone, whoever makes it. That's why it should be that kind of idea that we should just basically, intelligence tells us you should enjoy whatever you like, whether you like it or not. Whether you want to like, I don't know, some hardcore thrash that Phil Mucci puts out, or you want to put something you're putting out through Deadbeat or the Steam Demons or whatever. You can have a wide range of musical tastes. I can watch more than one film, like you said before, Netflix and stuff like that. Just opening our eyes up to the idea that, do you know what, humans like choice, but it's I mean we are a more of a wider species than to be narrowed in the box and not saying no. If you like this kind of stuff, you must like that. Like I said, if I like Kubrick, I've got to like all his films. So, no, I'm a bit more intelligent than that. I can pick and choose individual, pieces of work for what they are, and that is a sign to me of. I'm not trying to, that's a sign of, I don't know, a bit more of an open human being. Is basically by definition being open to listen to anything and go, oh, do you know what, or hearing anything, or visually taking anything and going, yeah, that's worth, and then you pass it on, which is what we're seeing at the moment with this creative rising. When you hear something good, all you want to do is pass it on to everything else. You're excited. It's what it's part of life, isn't it?
That it is. That it is. But at the same time, Michael Bay sucks. Michael Bay sucks.
Exactly,
No,
man.
he sucks at life. I'm just gonna.
But do you know what I'm saying? I can't, I don't like dog work. I'm trying to say, I've suffered from it like anybody else. And do you know what I mean? I think it was a great day when I shook myself away from that dogmatic, liking of just because I like a certain this and I like a certain that. And I was never over in my life, but overly dogmatic. But it's nice to get rid of that dogma. But I've always said to people, I think one of the hardest things is once this is the trouble about having the dogma in general, is that when you're conditioned into a dogma, it's, the way I describe it's like a laptop or a computer that you're born with a perfect machine or a machine that works and it functions in whatever way it may do, whether it's got whatever, but it functions. And onto that, you just from the moment you're born, you've got all these cookies and viruses attacking you, attacking you, attacking you. And by the time you get to an age of maybe, I don't know, your 20s or whatever your wake up moment is, you've had 20 years of the viruses attacking you. And it's a very difficult process to re-educate your mind and almost clear your system, like the reboot system, or like you said at the end of your movie, you have to just break through and that's very difficult. So I say this from experience because we've all been brought in dogma, and that's the trouble with dogma is that it stems from a great idea, and then people don't learn from that, and then they follow it and they fall off the cliff, like you were saying, like Aaron said. But in nature, like when a bee hive would transmute from one part to another, it has to go through a lot of signals, which is, we're not, it's what I'm saying, basically, the ultimate bad idea is when we separate ourselves from nature and we don't look around and go, wait a minute, why don't we learn from that rather than try to think we know better than that? Which is what you were sort of saying. It's the arrogance of humans, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Just the money, lack of empathy, all the good stuff.
Well, yeah.
Michael Bay.
Well, a lot of it, though, I mean, Ryan, as you know, especially in the creative arts, I mean, especially with films and I know music and I know art and stuff like that, it's just it's part of the human nature that we're all just lazy. So if you've made a that's like De Niro, man. That's like I'm saying about these De Niro and all these actors and stuff. Or I can list a million painters and let alone musicians, and just basically just bring them all home in. Go, "Look, I've done that. I'm going to repeat that from now to the end of eternity. And I've seen it in every genre and everything. It's just one of the inherent things, and I can't stand bands who just do that, man. Do you know what I mean? That's why I always, as I said before, when I see people who have been creative, whether it's people who've had on this or just other people in their life, that you want to shine that light for them because unless you're being active and you're working for it rather than just phoning it in, which man, I'm depending on how negative you want to feel, but you could easily argue at least 60, 70, 80% of all bands in all genres, whether it's film, the arts, literature, everything, they just phone it in.
Oh yeah, and but even like De Niro, like you can just tell it's the money, and it's not the he plays like the same actor in every other movie. I mean, he plays the same character, it just gets repetitive after a while, and um yeah, it's all in the integrity of what people want to do, and if they're just going to take any shit job or if they're going to actually, go out there and do something, you know. Like that's why one of my favorite actors is Crispin Glover. Just every movie that he's done, any role that he plays is so different and far out there, and he's a memorable character in every movie he's in because he's just puts himself so much into that role of being somebody else and creating something, and then it makes even the bad movies that he's in watchable because it's just hilarious. Like I forget which man I think I think he was in a Jason movie. I think he was in a Friday the 13th, probably like I think it was four, might have been three, either three or four. Crispin Glover was in it, and he has this dance scene where he's just like all the kids are in it was a typical horror slasher scene, and they're all in like the living room, and they start playing like some rock and roll music, and Crispin just like he asks this girl if she wants to dance, and as soon as he starts dancing he is just doing like literally one of the worst dances like you've ever seen, and even the actors who were with him were just kind of looking at him and like laughing and just like, what is this guy doing? And they just kept making fun of his dancing, and like, that was one of the things he did. Like he in a movie like a shit movie like a Friday the 13th Part 4, like he's trying to stand out. He's really going the extra mile to. And it wasn't really cheesy. He's a really great actor, and but then I don't know. I think you can see something like Meet the Fockers, and I think De Niro's pretty forgettable. I think the dialogue is, people quote movies all the time, and it's really easy to quote the movie. But do you really like? What do you see in that character? I remember seeing. I didn't see Meet the Fockers, but I saw Meet the Parents, and it was De Niro. It was. I didn't really see him doing a whole lot of acting. They just had it was different writing, and it was like, okay, that's fine and everything, but then they ended up doing like four movies or three movies or God knows how many sequels, and analyze this, analyze that, whatever. Like I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not gonna talk shit about De Niro though.
No, mate, I can go with you completely because I couldn't tell you how many of my favourite films in my top, definitely my top 10, 15. without unknown actors, and they're definitely unknown in that film, for that very reason. Or even worse, actors that, and we were talking about Barry Landon, I mean, actors that were almost comedy joke figures over in our part of the world that suddenly put on, in a film that's very, they can play diverse roles. It's sometimes it's not the actors at all. It's like it is always the power of the writing or the filming or whether if it's music about the penmanship or there's something about whatever it is that you like or you don't like. And I think as we've discussed before, I think that comes down to that we all like we all appreciate people we know that put effort and time into stuff. I think that's the thing that holds over the most, as I said before, because it's that inherent part of human nature. We're all inherently lazy sods at heart, man. We all like to do nothing. It's part of our monkey minds, man. Do you know what I mean? Part of that dinosaur brain. But
Well,
I
somebody like
think
De, well, I was just gonna say
well,
somebody like De Niro gets, so many weird. A lot of people aren't gonna send him weird roles. Like I actually, I loved him in Brazil.
mm,
I thought he was great in Brazil, and that was like an awesome role. Everybody who was in Brazil was actually, the characters were so far out there that it was just that's what made the movie was the characters. And Robert De Niro was in Brazil, and when he's the air conditioner guy, and when he's taking the role so seriously, and like telling the kid like, "Hey, like we're all in this together," and he gives him a thumbs up and like slides down a rope, and he was just the guy who was there to fix the air conditioner. It was such a great role, and then people get typecast, and so he obviously got typecasted, and that's kind of the movies that I'm sure he gets offered. And same thing happened with Val Kilmer. I think he turned down a couple like comedy roles in the '80s because he didn't want to do comedy at the time, and now he's like, nobody sends me comedy roles. Nobody. So to think these actors don't even have a really a say in the type of movies that they want to do. They can't just, Adam Sandler can't just go in and be like, you know what, I want to play Steve Jobs in the Steve Jobs movie. But if he goes in there with a plunger on his head and an Adam Sandler 2 script, you know, they're going to be like, okay, we know we make money on this. So,
that's
you know, but,
no, so it's always made me strange that because it's kind of like plays into what we discussed in it because it's kind of like the idea of that is like we could never comprehend I don't know Adam Sandler in a serious movie, but then whenever they do an independent film and they're like, oh, I remember seeing Mike Tyson in an independent film back in the day, and like, oh, that guy can act. He's actually got some, but then that's the point. Typecasting is just stereotyping, which is lazy again. Because sometimes it's, as I say, it's the power of the story or so what I'm trying to get to is like you're tapping into earlier on about this idol worship is that we'll always sort of see that when those people are idols, and it's their frustration as well. How many artists or actors are like say Val Kilmer, oh you're this and you can't do that, but then they can do that. They're really good actors. Perfect example of that, Patrick Swayze in Donnie Darko. He's as moody as man. He was really good in that film, and that's Patrick Swayze, man. I mean, of all people, do you know what I mean? So it's bizarre because where did that come from? Is that really the audience? Are we really that stupid that we can't see Patrick Swayze as anything other than the guy Johnson man type leotards? No, we're a bit more intelligent than that. But they will always typecast these people until someone takes a chance and puts them in a movie and they're like, oh, blimey, now Patrick Swayze can be a dark movie character and really effective at it and really, shockingly good at it.
oh yeah, look at Harrison Ford. He's been in some of the most iconic movies, and people don't even seem to, they wouldn't gravitate towards a Harrison Ford movie like they would, a Vin Diesel movie. He was in Blade Runner. He's freaking Indiana Jones. He's Han Solo. Like those three alone, like damn, killing it. But then you put Harrison Ford in a movie now, and if it's not, some franchise movie, people aren't going to go out and see it. Even in the '90s when he was doing, A Clear and Present Danger, and what was the other? The Fugitive. Tons of movies. The great actor, but he still just doesn't seem to have that pull.
Well, a perfect example of that, man. The perfect example of someone that I've always thought is if you said to them, I don't know, if you taken a bet I don't know, 3 or 4 years before this guy's career, and he said, "Okay, I've got this person. He's got a ridiculously stupid name that no one's going to even be able to pronounce, let alone spell. And this guy is going to become the biggest actor in America, although he's not American. He's going to become a state of a governor, even though he's not American. And he's going to be the top blockbuster film, when he's not American. And they'll be like, no way, there's a guy called Arnold Schwarzer, whatever, whatever. I can't even pronounce that surname. Do you know what I mean? People have laughed at you back in the day. But that's a perfect example. And he's been in some of the greatest films, but yet alone, in some of the shittiest films ever. I mean, he's been in Twins, but then he was in Predator. Do you know what I mean? Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian, I watched that the other day. It still stands up as a great film.
Are you saying Twins was bad?
I'm
Are you saying that? Are you saying that the movie Twins was a bad idea?
saying it was such a bad idea, it was a good idea, man.
Tim, I don't think I can carry on with this conversation. I'm now gonna watch my Blu-ray copy of Twins.
He's still around, man. That's the point. Life is
What was the
choices.
what was the one where he was pregnant?
Oh, what was that? Nanny something, wasn't it? Or
Was it Mr. Nanny? It wasn't
Mr.
Mr. Nanny.
Nanny. Yeah, I think it was or something. Or Daddy Daycare or something. I don't know.
It was definitely not Daddy Daycare.
Okay. It was something like that, or nanny something. You're right, it was a nanny, but yeah, but man, but equally, that's the guy. That's what I'm trying to say. You'd have never thought a guy like that. And that's a guy through hard work. Man, he made some right movies, some really good movies, man. And then he's made some absolute dog pants. But he,
Not Twins though. Twins was top notch.
yeah.
I'm not gonna argue it. I think Low Vision's texting me.
Oh man, but where's your light bug, man?
Flip phone? Oh
Man, your
yeah.
light,
They
your
don't- they
light.
don't make they don't make the lightning bug for flip phones, but
Just to let people know, just to point people, go ahead and just go and check out let's type into YouTube, low vision, promo, daily. You understand what it is. But Brian, explain what that whole lightning bug is, man.
the lightning bug is the glass jar cell phone case slash application for your iPhone. It is. I don't have one on me, but if you're in Dayton, Ohio, I think you might be able to buy one off Low Vision on January 16th at Canal Public House. I doubt anybody from Dayton's listening, but Bizarre from D12 is going to be there as well. No, we just shot some promo videos of some weird improv things that we just kind of came up with on the spot. And yeah, if you look up his YouTube channel's Out of Nowhere,
Yeah,
and what would the video be called? It's Low Vision, LOVISION, and then one of them's called Green Room.
yeah.
So if you just look up like Low Vision Green Room, that should pop up, and then you can find his YouTube channel from there and find all three videos that I did. And we're actually going to put up the fourth one here tonight, and Tim's seen it. And Vision actually, he texted me the other morning. He said, "I love it. It's fucking brilliant."
It's wicked. It's
It
brilliant,
is
man.
pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, okay, man. While you're on his YouTube page, and there's plenty of good videos there. I'll definitely go recommend the tune music, man. That song is infectious.
Mm. Tell me when I'm ooh ooh. They want something brand new. Ooh, ooh. I like I yeah, I was really getting into the music as I was doing the video, because that's one of the things is when you're editing video and spending so much time in there staring at things, is if something's annoying, you're going to be hearing it, good couple hundred times. Just that one part. You're going to hear the whole thing probably a couple thousand times. But you're going to hear your one part that you hate or whatever. You're going to hear that a good couple hundred times, and it's going to get really, really annoying. But then, like, I've been fortunate enough so far to only have to deal with low vision's music and the ceiling demons. So I never once got bored. I was into it when I wanted to be into it, and I couldn't even hear it when I wasn't paying attention to it, which is all you can hope for. Because when you don't want to pay attention to the audio, you don't want to really hear it. And if it's something annoying, you're gonna get real pissed off quick.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. But yeah, but everyone out there definitely go and part this. Go and check out Leverage on YouTube. Also, his own website as well. Out there entertainment. Follow through the artists you're finding. Do you know what I mean? Some great tunes in that. And right, it's going on the podcast very soon. We'll announce dates very soon. But I'm well looking forward to that. But as I said to you earlier on, right, it's been kind of like the last sort of like, this is definitely, this whole creative rising is definitely starting to flower and thrive as a scene, you would say, I mean, these seeds being thrown, and it's amazing, really, sort of stepping back and looking at it from that, outside perspective from my little place on the edge of the Highland Mountains, watching all this thing going on. It's great, all these connections going on. And it was great to say, like we said before the podcast, see that stuff like, the Wighead is doing stuff with, no vision's connecting that with no BS. And there's connections going on, and there's collaborations going on. And it's nice, man. It's good to see because these are what we're saying, through this podcast. These are the good ideas. These are the things that are positive, and through that things will happen because these are positive things. You know what I mean? And all power to it, and it's nice to see.
Oh yeah, when you get good people around, a lot of things can happen.
Yeah, man. Maybe it'd be a great day listening to some of these, these collaborations going on. Can you imagine sort of like a low vision remix of the Demons or a Wicked, stroke, or Rorschach doing the thing with, I don't know, low vision. I don't know. There's a lot of you think, wow, there's some really great stuff could come through out of that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, well, even me, I've got the me and Wighead are collaborating on
Yeah,
a song called I don't know, we're still working on it. I like the name Propaganda.
yeah, I see.
I really do like that name, Propaganda. Um, but yeah, I've been starting to write that. I think I'm like 8 bars or 12 bars into it because I actually wrote for another song that I'm doing with a guy from St. Louis who's a promoter out there working with independent artists, and he's just another just one of those random guys, the random artist that I found, and just was like, hey, reached out just like you with the demons. Like I just kind of reached out and said one sentence of like, hey, really like this, really like what you're doing, and next thing I know, yeah, just we're going back and forth with just ideas and. Uh, he's telling me about songs he wants to do, and it's just a mutual artist type thing, and it's really great how we can, uh, connect with each other and just on real simple terms, to start out with, just saying something like, "Hey, I really like what you're doing," and then somebody
Mm-hmm.
actually responds more to that than just like signing an autograph on your face and walking away. Like that's, to actually a compliment is one thing, but to gain not only a friendship but some sort of collaborative, creative thing out of that as well is, yeah, there's obviously more to it than just someone being a douche, which there are lots of douches out there that are just signing faces and walking away.
Yeah, well, that's part of that. We sort of talk about all night. That's part of that psycho simulation we talk about because we're conditioned to looking at these idols, and these idols, that their role is to basically be like that. It's not even an autograph on the head anymore. It's the self. And you think move on, they do move on, and that's their role in life. They're just a fun that's their. I mean, I'm not imagine their existence. Imagine being the place of that person. They can't go anywhere. They can't just walk down the town. And when they do out mix with people, it's all just they're seeing human beings as just imposing people who want selfies. They're not interested in them as human beings. They're just, oh, I've got a picture with me because I'm famous. So I can understand both sides. You know what I mean? It's a really weird, bad idea illusion that people are cultivated in the as we said before, this psycho simulation where that's pumped out. This is your stars. These people are pumped into it like that's the height of what you should be in society. But you listen to any of them, and I'm sure it's the same in your part of the world. They all hate it because they can't go anywhere. And if you get to the top of the tree like a bomber, where can the bomber walk? You know, the most powerful free man in the world. Where can he walk? Not anywhere, because he has to be restricted into different prisons. You know, it's a weird illusion that people play, and I think, like so, one of the bits of the wake up moment is going, do you know what? Don't put anyone on a pedestal. Just reach out to them. If they reach back to you, that's great. If they don't, as we discussed before, if they don't, they're a douchebag, as you would say if you're part of the world. That sounds really American.
That
Douchebag.
proper douchebag.
You know, when people don't reach back to you, then you can judge them for that. But a lot, you'll be surprised by how many people you do. But just be it. I'll emphasise this before. Everybody that we've had on this guest, I've reached out to. Do you know what I mean? None of these people are lifelong friends of mine, or I've known them. We've spent years underground building this up. It's just reaching out to people, and that's my whole point of that's what we call it. That's the whole point of what we're trying to build within everything. It's the whole point. If we can just get people together, you don't need any one person to be the leader of it, or it's just a bunch of people together who've got like minds, and they want to go in that direction and build something nice. Do it free. That's all they want. It's quite a simple concept. Like all things in life, the most correct ways are the quite simple ones, and the simple concept is just leave us alone. Like we said before, it's a simple non-concept. Don't harm me. I won't harm you. I'll sleep when I'm tired. I'll eat when I'm hungry, and other than that, just leave me alone.
Give me your lunch money, Tim. You weak little bitch. Give me you douchebag. Give me your money.
You can have my money, man. You can have my money. What's your money, mate? That's not bad, mate.
I'm gonna go buy a tall boy.
Fair enough. You can buy a tool, boy.
Is it time it? Yeah. Okay. Shout out to Honey Brown, please.
Honey
Give me a
brown.
send me some coupons.
This podcast has been hijacked by emphasizing.
I have yet to get my Honey Brown tattoo, but maybe Tim will design me one.
But no, I mean it's just like one of those things, though. As I say, it's all about reaching out to people, and if only more people did it, that's how we could change, affect change in a really quick way. All
Well,
just
I don't know. I think a lot of people want to be just kind of want to pretend superstar. It's their superstardom. They just want to, like one of the things we were talking about before the podcast, and he's not the only one, but obviously, there's a lot of people that play this whole Twitter unfollow game where they'll like follow you and then you'll follow them back, and the next thing you know, they don't follow you anymore. And then you look at their numbers and they try to have them all skewed to where it's like, they follow like 150 people, but they're being followed by 15,000 people. And it's supposed to be like this kind of celebrity, I don't know, Twitterism. It's such bullshit. And even like I've actually seen so many artists like starting out, and what's funny is most of them I never really liked to begin with, as far as their work and some of the music that they were producing. I was not a fan of it at all. And then you would see at first their followers and following would be equal, and they would keep everything on a playing field. And then for some reason they reached this level where they thought they could just like unfollow like 1,500 people, and uh, all of a sudden like have this very skewed number, so it actually looks like they have a fan base, which is ridiculous. Especially because we all know that you can buy those things. You can buy likes on YouTube. You can buy followers, Facebook likes. You can buy all that shit. So he had actually legitimately gained his, and then I guess I'm speaking about one person specifically, but he he dropped like 1,000 followers or something like overnight, or 1,500 I think, and everybody knew it. Like we weren't even like connected or anything. We just kind of all followed the same person. But then I see everybody saying stuff like, "This dude just dropped like 1,500 followers," And like I go and I look at his, and he's very extremely small time, and I still see his like his numbers, just the complete difference in it, because he wanted to make it look like he was somebody and he had fans, but he was just in the same boat as everybody else, where it was building a community and not looking like a superstar. And all these people ended up unfollowing him. They were really pissed, and dude just looked really stupid, and it makes your integrity look like complete shit. And I think it just outs you and just says like, yep, this is who you are and who you want to be. Like, you just want to segregate yourself from everybody else and say like, I'm an original, nobody's like me. And we all, I can easily say that about any of the artists that we've talked to, is that they are original and nobody is like them, but they
Mhm.
don't have that attitude because they're not doing it for that attitude. They're doing it for the attitude of, I'm just gonna do it. Like, there's no reasoning behind it. There's no, uh, a lot of us, I'm sure if we pooled like, total profits off of our artistic, what have yous, all of us together, like, I'm sure we couldn't even, build one house that could hold all of us. Like, and and here we are still doing it. We keep doing it, and that's the thing. Like, I sent you a pic that I made, just messing around on Photoshop and doing some graphic design and whatnot, and I had been sick for like 2 or 3 days, like terrible shakes and sweats, which is why I wasn't on last week's podcast, and or on Sunday's podcast. And yeah, I sent you that pic, and you said, you're just like me. Like, it doesn't matter if you're sick or dying. Like, you're still, there's something inside of you is still making you go, still making you create something and do whatever. Yeah, it really is. It goes back to that quote that I've probably said many times on the podcast. I think I said it on the first one, but yeah, there was a director who was teaching a film class, and he said, if you're here because you think movies are cool and you want to make movies, make friends, like, go ahead and stay here. If you're here because you can't sleep at night and you don't know who you are, just leave right now, because you already, I can't teach you anything. You know the movie you're gonna make, and you're gonna go off and do it, and it really doesn't matter what I teach you. And that's really kind of the thing with the creatives like us, is it's not that, yes, we want recognition for the work that we put into it, but we don't want any recognition more than that. We don't want to be seen as gods or uh, you know, rap legends, which I will argue about every single rap legend, just by, like, reading lyrics to you and being like, really, like, look how juvenile this is. You guys are wearing shitty T-shirts with these people on them, and that goes for every music in general. But at the same time, once again, I don't know. People gravitate towards that shit that is created.
Mate, I mean, as we both, as I said before, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I've had this reinforced to me by every person we've spoken to in this podcast is that the minute I do something, to me, it's done. And it's on to the next one. And I kind of like, when people come back to me and say, I mean, often on Twitter, people go, oh, and they go, I really like this picture. Oh, wow, I did that way back. And it's almost like to recall what I was in that moment, and it maybe a trigger a memory off or something. But man, everything, like you said, everything you do, it's always a continual move, progression, always. Do you know what I mean? I don't ever want to deliberately, it's one of the disciplines I carry. I don't want to be just bringing things in. Like Robert, I remember speaking to Robert Leach about this, and he was saying it's the idea that always is just stretching, trying something new, whatever it is, it's experimentation. It's supposed to be a bit like Aaron was saying as well. It's the idea that's what nature does and Olympic marriage does. It's always experimenting with something new, which means pushing something, which means you do it, you forget about it. It was great. My last best pick, people always says to me, what was your favourite piece of artwork? Well, the last one I did. And even then, I'm kind of bored of it, and I want the next one. And it's kind of like, yeah, okay. And I'll look back and I'll look at the flaws and I'll see. I don't think I've ever made anything perfect, and hopefully I never will, because if I ever reach perfection, that'll be my last dying stroke.
Yeah, that's what I love about you, is I'm constantly seeing your new stuff coming out. You're constantly drawing something, and even when you put out just a sketch of it, and then later I see you painted it, I'm like, man, like, it's just cool because it's new content. There's new stuff coming out. To think of, um, Yeah, just so many people don't come out with new content, and then you have to wait a year and a half for a 40-minute CD, and it's called an album. Like, hmm, I don't know. Like I mean, you came out with one like 2 years ago, and this one's like 40 minutes, and you want me to pay $20 full price, like on iTunes or whatever. Like, fuck, man, it's nice to be established, I guess.
Yeah, well, that goes back to what I said before earlier on. Because you could, I don't, we can argue whether it's innate or not, but generally, you can argue that generally the human condition it likes its laziness, it likes to be, apathetic. And that's the resistance that we all, as creative people, battle against. Do you know what I mean? We're always fighting that resistance, whether it's resistance to, do you know what I mean? This is one area that me and you share. We're both writers. The amount of times I sat in front of a computer and it's kind of been, I know I'll have to get into the discipline of it all. Because if I don't start with discipline, I'll just sit there and I'll be distracted by the TV, I'll be distracted by YouTube, I'll be distracted by email, I'll be distracted by Twitter, I'll be distracted by, finding a photo that I haven't seen for 5 years. Anything in the world will distract me. That's the resistance. If you can form the discipline of going, do you know what? Say like you say for writing, I'm going to just write, and I write the first sentence, then I write the second sentence, and then I write the third sentence, and before you know it, bang. And it's often the hardest ones is the first 2 or 3 words. I remember when I write, the first 3 or 4 words is the hardest thing I ever write, and they even come to me instantly. I'm like, oh, hey, I've got the first 4 words, and the rest will just go. But the amount of times you're just like, right, get over that hard discipline, that first step of just putting the first bit of that first key down and say, right, the word the, or whatever it is.
Just just start with my name is Ishmael every
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Exactly.
It
It's,
works for me. It's
but
I
it's,
don't know. I swear I'm a weirdo. Um I never thought of myself as a writer. I never thought I would be a writer, but man, I've never been short on ideas.
yeah,
I've never been shy to the paper. I swear. It's give me a blank piece of paper and I can fill it like a canvas in just a matter of minutes, and it's really not hard. And even as far as coming up with ideas, like uh, one of the one of my favorite stories is Graffiti Falls. I don't know if you read that. Did you read it, Tim? I'm putting you on the spot.
no, I haven't made completely yours.
Oh, you have not read it. Well, mm, you're gonna have you're gonna have to read it because it was. I'll send you a link to it. It's on my
Oh,
WordPress at ryanwmartin.wordpress.com. Suck it. And well, it was this idea that I was coming up with the bartender from Bad Ideas, and because he does really good drawings and stuff, but at the same time, it's really hard to get him motivated to do like something really big like this. And so we were coming up with the idea of like a comic book, and right away I started coming up with these really like this really weird concept of basically it's like two graffiti writers in the 80s, and I guess I can give one of the like inspirations behind it. One of the story themes that I was writing with, I was kind of think I had already gone through The Watchmen like many a times and a bunch of Alan Moore stuff. I heard him saying something about with The Watchmen, what he kind of did was created his own future history. He basically made up a fictitious event that happened in the past and then flash forward to the future. So it's basically like our exact culture from said time period to said time period, but this one change had been inflicted upon it. And so one of the things I kind of I love that idea, and so one of the things I came up with was this underground subway system that was built underneath America, and it actually ended up going all throughout America and had all these lines, and I came up with a huge backstory and whatever. And but basically, it was about two graffiti writers who ride on this train, and one of them gets I guess taken would be the word, but basically just gets taken by a giant demon hand in the underneath the subway in the tunnels or whatever. And so then his friend is basically just on a the subway system shuts down, and so his friends just and basically just running alone in a basically just going constantly throughout these tunnels underneath America looking for a demon. And he's alone, and that's all. It's a story about madness. He's basically in the depths of his solitude of being underneath America for probably 15, 20 years. He doesn't really know he's crazy when you actually get to it. But yeah, it's written like a diary, and yeah, it's just a really weird concept and idea. And like I said, it just came to me so quick. I remember going through the ideas, um, with Nate of just thinking, going my computer of like characters and times and days, and it's like, as long as you can make something plausible with it, which in the realm of fiction is actually not that hard because you're making shit up anyway. So if you can make something like the flux capacitor and time travel, if you make that real and believable, then it's really not that hard to do other things. So I'd be sitting there thinking of like, you know, um, one of my really favorites is like Jack the Ripper. The story just when they put Jack the Ripper in any time zone that's not his own, it's just kind of weird. It's just a crazy concept. And yeah, just think about it, like just start mashing words together, what like samurai breakdancer. Just be like, wait a minute, samurai breakdancer. Like, how could we do this? Like, is he a breakdancer that's also a samurai, or is he a samurai that's also a breakdancer? And even when you go through that realm of thinking, like which one is he? There's so many combinations outside of it that are just kind of weird. And next thing you know, you're on Google looking up samurai breakdancing. Like is there like did samurais dance? Like how can I incorporate samurais and breakdancing? And yeah, I was looking up subway trains and demons. Like I'm like demons, subway trains, and I'm getting like pictures and yeah, just getting a feel for sort of like what underground tunnels would look like. And yeah, I don't know, fiction and finding ideas. I've never been short of it. It's never been a problem for me. I don't know about you, Tim. You seem to put out a lot of stuff, so.
No, no, it's never been a problem. But I always say to people, I think that's, I don't know whether I would say others, I always have inside it, but equally, I think there is an element of discipline in it. It's what I was trying to say earlier on. It's that I'm not trying to say I'm any different from anyone else because I know I'm not. But we're all inherently lazy. We all face that resistance. We all face that moment. But I've never been short of ideas. I think resistance is that taking the first step, writing the first sentence, putting the first line on the canvas, which at times isn't, not even because you're not wanting to. I mean, amount of times that you can be stood in front of, for instance, like me, in front of a canvas or art to play piano, in front of all those keys, you see, particularly a canvas, it's like, if you make one mistake, it's that fear. But it's getting over that, and that's, as I try to write in that blog I wrote for Carl, it said the biggest, actually, thing that weight that can be lifted off any artist or anyone that's created shoulders to realise that you haven't got to be original and just make that first step, dive in, because then it will flow. Trust what you've always done. Do you know what I mean? It's like riding a bike. Once you've done it, you can do it again and again and again. And then once you're in the flow of it, if you have any conscious thing of it at all, which every time I've always been on the flow, I've never had any conscious, almost overriding. I don't see myself go completely into it, but I'd imagine if you do have any conscious, thought about when you're in, if you're in that moment, almost trying to let them go and just think, do you know what? Even if I make the worst, if you're consciously thinking, oh, what is it? What am I writing down? This is rubbish. This is, like you said, this is samurais and breakdancing. But do you know what? You may just put it all out because there's always that magic word of editing. You can always go back and edit it. Do you know what I mean? Or you might look and go, do you know what? That is complete percent of rubbish. But it was another step along the way of me learning that, put that as I said before, putting those hours in, keeping that creative process going. And sometimes the worst ideas, and you look at it and maybe I'm sure I took some, no, I definitely took some the twins about this, about how we write songs, and sometimes it can just be you'll take the odd two or three words out of a song, or you'll write a whole verse and be like, actually, there's only about 4 or 5 lines that are worth that. Now that doesn't work every time because I love to write a lot of what is so-called poetry, and the amount of times I've written stuff and it's just flowing out of me, and it's like I don't want to change any of that. That's done. I don't ever when do you know what I mean? The editing process is quite alien to me, but I understand what it means because sometimes you can write whole reams of prose and maybe pick out 5 or 6 words and go, do you know what? That links that idea really works really well. Then you take those ideas and you work away at them and you start again. And before you know it, you've built a whole new area of thought up. Like you say, you took 2 random words, and before you know it, you've got and it's, it's like we said before. I mean, this is the line that the twins always use. It's that whole idea of you throw seeds and you watch them, you flower and thrive. And some of them will wither and die. Some ideas will be rubbish. Some things you put down will be rubbish. But whether it's a rubbish idea and it's a seed that doesn't withers and dies, or whether it's a seed that flowers and thrives, it's the idea of getting over that resistance and doing it and being in, that's what I'm saying. And that's what I was trying to, what I'm saying. It's the idea of getting over the resistance. And that's what I love about, what we were saying before, what I've been trying to say all night is that I love about people like, the Seed Demons or Big Head or Low Vision or Low BS or, Robert Leach and Terrorvision and Rorschach and Leading Lights. And I could go on and on, Fold and so many recital houses. I could keep going on and on, out of balance and stuff I can tell you about. What I respect about each and every one of those people is that they, all the time, I know they're building that resistance. Do you know what I mean? And we all face it. Trust me, I've had chats with a lot of creative people. We all face that resistance, and distractions will come in. And man, life is resistance. Man, life is one big resistance and illusion. It's there to distract you, and it's there to make you feel apathetic, and make anything else. Everything is there. It's meant to make you feel easy and simple and not make we just talked about it before. We were talking about it on Sunday with Terry's voice. It's that they live moment, they want to make you sleep. So we understand the resistance and we all feel it. And that's what I was trying to say about dropping that idea that you've got to be original, and also it's dropping the idea that none of us are leaders. I mean, I've talked to I don't want to speak out of turn for everybody, but I know everyone else, we all have moments of doubt, we all have moments of not wanting to do it, and we all feel down, and we've talked about this before, but that's the resistance. And what helps in life, and I think a lot is just breaking that resistance, like you said before. Life is basically, if you're going to break this down, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, and do what you do. And that's it. Simple.
And see a Michael Bay movie every now and then because he needs money. Only you can save Michael Bay from starvation. Please go see Ninja Turtles.
Exactly right. If only I could save him, but the sad truth is it's only himself that can save himself. And he has to question himself every moment of his existence about why you do it. That's the trouble with bad ideas, man, in general. And that's what I was trying to say about dogma, man.
Well, if I had the proper motivation, I would make that video. Please donate your money to Michael Bay. Go see go see Ninja Turtles. He's hungry. We'll show him starving somewhere, and we like dirt on his suit or something, and people will go see Ninja Turtles.
It's amazing, man. It really is. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's hilarious, really. That I don't know. It makes me laugh that we're in 2015 and we still, I don't know, we still have some of these remnants that go back a long, long time, man. Do you know what I mean? It's bizarre. I mean, movies is always meant to be laughing, is that we're really still seeing the idea of, I mean, what's the average movie now? What, 90 minutes if you're lucky? 70 minutes maybe? Because they
Or
sort of,
3 hours.
yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? But the idea is your attention span, but they're all, it's all the same creative art. You start from the beginning, you have a, that's Music hasn't changed in over 100 years since the first, Lauren Hardy movie. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing, really.
There's just a lot of cliches. There's a lot of easy way of doing things now. You can watch one episode of Law and Order, I think, and learn, movie making 101 as far as plot development, characters, how to introduce things, editing. Yeah, TV's a real basic. If you want to learn about movie making, you can watch TV, learn the few things, and you can go watch The Matrix after that, and then you'll learn how to make any movie because it's real basic as far as the techniques and stuff like that. Like, you can really only go so far and do so much. And if the content's not there, then what are you doing? Not what are you doing? Well, you're wasting time. I mean, I'm not gonna go see. Even if there was something redeeming about Transformers, it's not gonna be worth the 2 hours of my life. Something like Gravity, something like Ninja Turtles, or any of that stuff. Like, it's not worth the 2 hours of my life just to see space effects. Like, there's been space movies forever. I can
Hmm.
see all this. I can see all the space effects I want. Like, it's really not that hard. Like, even as far as movies like Star Wars, like, there were movies like Star Wars before Star Wars, and they might not have been as good or as epic or as well done, but they had the same type of flying sequences. They had the costumes. They had the creativity, the originality. They just didn't have the money and the technical know-how. But um, does that make them any less of movies? Like, as far as my entertainment value goes, no, not at all. Like, it's it just because it's Star Wars. It's just a movie. Like, George Lucas only directed one of them, one out of the first three. I don't see what the big fucking deal is. And then he did the fourth one, which had Jar Jar Binks. So what are we doing? What is going on when somebody's hailed as a legend, and that this is kind of what you get, and it's yeah, I don't know, but the concepts, the ideas, it's for my entertainment dollar, I would rather go indie because there's much more heart to it. There's much more and I know they're not wasting money on indie film. I know they're not. It's not like the mainstream with a bunch of people sitting around, and you're not paying salaries of astronomical proportions. Which really, I mean, if you go see a Brad Pitt movie or an Angelina Jolie movie, in all likelihood, your money's probably going towards paying their salary, which is pretty ridiculous because they make way too much money for the crap shit they put out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is one of the things that I think this 2015 particularly is going to be quite a momentous year for everything ahead because I mean, I think one of the things that we've lived in, we've seen sort of like the breakdown of TV. I think television in itself is a dead medium in itself. I think it is still live on. I think it'll still be around in 30, 40 years time. But I think it'll be seen the same way as pantomimes are either here or I don't know radiograms or record players. They'll be there, but for certain needs or whatever, for fashion reasons or whatever. But the media itself is fragmenting around us all the time. And we've seen in the last 10 years, we've seen massive casualties in the back of that. We've seen blockbusters go down. We've seen huge, great big corporations go down in the back of that. And this year is going to play into the whole of this because I was thinking that the other night. Was like we've never had the ability to, for instance, me and you, we will talk a lot about Takeshi Nishimura. We talk a lot about history and everything because we've got the time and the I don't know, whatever. We've got the personalities to sit there and we'll watch, subtitle things. Now, for the general masses, for whatever reason, which is another debate, whether they've been conditioned or whatever, but they won't want to sit down and watch that kind of stuff. But if you can imagine a technology where you're not just being, or in a world where the technology gives you the ability to have the opportunity to watch anything you want, which is what I'm saying, we're going to have through many different forms, whether it's going to come through, what we're doing through Maidsafe or whether through the Oculus Rift or whether it comes through Ethereum. There's so many things that arise, and it's going to give people the opportunity. And someone's going to invent it. Some guy will be around the world right now. We know it. Sat in a bedroom working out the code. Going, do you know what? You can see every film in it and just come across to you instantly. It won't be in a language problem. It'll just be an instant. You know, you'll understand. You know, Live or Die 2, you're Dead or Alive 1 and 2 instantly. You have to sit there and watch subtitles. You'll know exactly. You understand the language instantly, and then it opens up the choice even more. And then this whole what we call massive industries, like Hollywood, that in 30, 40 years time could just be dead because people will be more interested in their choice. And I think this is one of the questions that I keep saying is creative rising, and the era of the creative is definitely rising, is because we're going to, as a human species, have to wake up very, very quickly to realise that creativity, whatever field it comes through, whether it's engineering or anything like that, but this idea of, like you were saying before, opening yourself, expressing yourself, being creative, doing something is going to be essential in the years to come because, like we were saying before, the days of just being lazy and phoning it in, I think they're going to fall by the wayside because more and more people are going to be open up to choices. I mean, imagine if everybody had the ability to watch like 13 Assassins and then you had to sit there and watch it through subtitles, or they could watch some Swedish movie or some movie made in Scotland and some person in right now in the middle of Thailand isn't going to be able to watch that because of the price and because of the language and because of a million and one reasons. But if they've got the instant ability to watch a film made in Scotland, like Valhalla Horizon or something, instantly in their own language and they can understand all the nuances of the language, like, that's going to change the world fundamentally. And what people, that isn't some futuristic dream I'm talking about. This is going to be switched on this year. And this is, it's going to change everything. It's going to be such, I keep saying, this is the greatest day to live in because like you said before, the more choices people can have, the better it is because then we can move forward without being these, as you said before, being forced onto things rather than letting us have more choice.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't know if people would sit through 13 Assassins. Like I said, I just watched Takashi Miike's Harakiri, and I was reading comments. I posted the trailer, and then I was reading the comments on YouTube for the trailer, and somebody said something like, "It's like I had to turn this movie off. It was 20 minutes of the same room and the same people talking and blah blah blah." Uh, everyone just kind of castrated him after that because they were like, this is a samurai movie. This isn't Transformers. Like this is supposed to be a dramatic movie. You were supposed and to be honest, I didn't even notice what he was bitching about as far as them being in the same room or whatever. But at the same time, I was, listening to the story and, I was really into that aspect of it. So it didn't bother me that, yeah. And I can even remember one scene where, a samurai was dying and he wanted his friend to open up the window so that he could see the castle of the dynasty that they belong to and whatever. And any normal typical movie, they would show this beautiful view out the window of the castle and the dynasty. And even an indie film would have done this, where it would have been, some CGI pile of shit looking, fancy, probably birds flying over and angelic glow to it of the castle and whatever. What Takashi do? He didn't show it. He didn't show shit. He showed the dying guy looking out the window, and he just says something like, "My God, it's beautiful," and then he cuts away, and I was like, "Man, he just made me use my imagination." Like I had to imagine said castle, and that's kind of one of the things that I love most about Takashi is that he can, I'm sure number one he didn't have the budget for it because I know Takashi. I know his movies and why he does a lot of things. Just because he's funny like that. You can, he has a real rhythm that you can get into and kind of understand how he works. And yeah, you can easily see him being like, you know what? We're not gonna put a shot there of the castle, and really it's because we have no money. But at the same time, it's going to, it makes everyone use their imagination. Like and it really did. Like he cut away from that, and it was like, wow, yeah, I really did just. I envisioned my own idea of what this Chinese dynasty castle would look like, and or Japanese, I'm sorry. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of, like I said, in the YouTube comments, and obviously it's YouTube or whatever, but for some reason people find it hard to sit through something like that. And as we've talked about with television, like it just happens. I think with television, that's kind of one of the things that's instilled that in people is that they don't have to. Even if they're watching something as boring as Law and Order, it all of a sudden becomes not as stagnant when you add in advertising because the advertisements are, super fast, mile a minute, click, 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 editing, chop, 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 real fast. And so when you're watching even the most boring of shows, it all of a sudden becomes visually stimulating because the advertisements are in there. And then when people go to see a movie, it just gets, it gets really boring sometimes. But not, and I'm saying visually. Like, so, yeah, I'm sure Harakiri, it might have been visually unstimulating. I couldn't tell you because I was involved in the story, and that's what the one of the things of Harakiri, the movie, the original and the remake are, is that it's you're in the story, you're in the dialogue, it's about the characters and what's going on.
Hmm. We're essentially talking here about the senses of sight and sound. That's what movies are, or films are. Your visual cortex, are being stimulated, and your ears is being stimulated. And I agree with you 100%. You're right. This is the point I'm trying to make. That you look at things now and think, well, they don't want to do that because that's I'm gonna they've been conditioned into that. Now it's the same with taste. I mean, if you look at taste, that if you've gone back, I'm sure it's the same in your part of the world, probably a bit further back, but over here, 30, 40 years ago, people, if you put a spicy food in front of them, they would have been like, no, I'm not touching that. But because we've come, over time, first person tried the hot curry, and the next person like, that's not too bad. Before you know it, that's our favourite food over is curries. So maybe that's what I'm saying. What happened with our eyes and our ear senses that when we have the ability through the things that we enjoy now stimulating our eyes through, which is the laptops and then the tablets and whatever you're watching or listening to this through, or whatever you're watching and stimulate, it's all through that thing. Once that ability has where like taste, you can actually taste it and see that, maybe that will change because these it's not as we know. I mean, a good movie can be made in Japan, a bad movie can be made in Japan, a good movie can be made in Sweden, a bad movie can be made in Sweden. But at the moment, there's so many people in the world just missing out because it's kind of like, well, no, I eat cornbread and that's all I eat. And it's like, well, yeah, you've been conditioned to eat cornbread from the day you're born. But you know what? Try Chinese food. Try some Indian food. Try some Moroccan food. Try. Explore, question, try these things out. And I think the same will happen with this year. Well, not maybe this year, but things are starting to happen this year where that will happen as it's happened with our tongues and our taste sensations. Our eyes are going to be able to do that more. We're going to go, wow, do you know what? There is more than one way of making a movie. Wow, there is more than one way of doing this. And do you know what? I now understand what they're singing in Swahili of that tune, whereas before it didn't make any sense. And that's going to only help us all because it's like I've said before, when I've lived in other countries, you realise that every country has amazing musicians or amazing artists that are only known in their little borders because no one outside them can understand them because they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Or maybe, and then I don't like the tune, and so well, if you understood the lyrics and what he's trying to say over that music, you would understand the irony and the texture of it all. But that's what I'm trying to say. We've done it with taste. It'd almost be a strange person now. If someone walked in and said, I ain't eating anything other than cornbread, you'd be like, what? We've kind of moved on that step as a human species, but with
Why are you
sight,
so anti cornbread?
I'm just mate, it's just my generic American food.
Cornbread is I'm not
That's what it's saying.
I'm not a country bumpkin, but cornbread's pretty damn good.
It's the only American generic food I can think of off the top of my head, man. Cornbread. I was in free flow there, man.
I didn't know this was anti cornbread. I would not have agreed to be on this podcast if we were going to be anti cornbread. gonna talk to my lawyer. This is bullshit. I'm gonna fire my agent. That's what I'm gonna do. My agent is done.
Well, I've just described to you my worst nightmare: a cornbread eating twins fan.
Yep, that's me. I'm eating cornbread, listening to Ceiling Demons. Like, man, this is good.
No, I mean, there's film The Twins, man. Do you know what I mean? Don't you ever knock that film while you chew your cornbread, man. My nemesis arises.
Yeah, it's in the making.
But do you know what I mean? The point I'm trying to make, man. Do you know what I mean? It's that whole. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be. Do you know, I have more hope in human nature because I think that if people, could watch 13 Assassins and it wasn't difficult for them as and they had to watch the screen and watch the language subtitles and watch the screen and watch the subtitles. Do you know what I mean? If you just made that a little bit easier, they would be able to, be able to sit in that room for 20 minutes with a guy when he's talking about the philosophy and why they should attack and defend and strategies and stuff. But because he's been fed on porridge, there you go, another generic Scottish term for it. He's been fed on porridge all his life. He doesn't want to try curry, but he would love it if only he had the chance to try it and, you know, put some milk in it, make it nice and mild for them.
Okay, are you talking about me now?
No, it's man, it's fair. It's exactly what I was talking to the terrorists about in the podcast. That's what I love about the terrorists is that, as they were saying, that they're not just hitting you every song with this boom, boom, boom. Yes, they're groovy catch beats, but in that groove you can put a bit of medicine in the sugar, and it's a powerful elixir, man. Putting that, putting the two together.
I spit poison, and I like the band Poison,
Well,
and
uh,
I wear Poison t-shirts.
we know how much you love the poison. You know how.
For the record, I fucking hate Poison.
Uh, that depends which record it is. If you go by our Facebook conversation, there's enough poison videos in that one. It's sent from you.
No, you were the one you were sending me Tesla videos, and I think there was a GNR video in there somewhere. I think you sent me November Rain, which I thought was weird, but
No, you need that epic guitar solo man in your life. Oh man. But no man, it's bizarre man. Do you know, I saw the other day, it was just kind of, put like a thought process in the other day, was, do you think I don't know, you take me back to sort of like the 20s and the 30s, and the first guys that were out there with the old, hand-made cameras, and they're out there in the street, and they're filming whatever. I've sent you a few links to sort of stuff that was one of the early shot ones, which was shot in Leeds, I remember, and it's just someone walking through a window. But do you think those people back then, in any way, could have imagined what we've got now? The visual way, the films have moved on. But, so like we were saying before, the actual arc of the story hasn't changed much, but the
I
technology,
don't know.
or
I think they might be pissed. Like I'd be kind of pissed if I was like, if I had that one camera and I was like, man, just imagine 100 years from now, like, and then 100 years from now, and somebody's still like holding something, they gotta press a button, they gotta like save it, they gotta transfer it, they gotta back it up, they gotta, you know what I mean? Like for me, it doesn't seem like 100 years is. It feels like we've held ourselves back. Like videos, it has come a long way, but at the same time, it feels like there was a lot of uselessness along the way. And sometimes the technology, it doesn't seem like the technology went into itself the way it does now. As far as, and I've talked about this before, and I think it was Alan Moore who said it, or somebody else. But every time they build technology, they're putting the old technology inside the new technology, and it's in that sense doubling itself every time. And back in the day, I don't think it was happening that much or happening as rapidly. And I think you can kind of see that in the way the game systems evolved and how a lot of systems kind of went under the radar and didn't get really recognition. And what was it? The we used to have a 3DO. Did you ever hear of a 3DO?
Nope.
I think this came out. It was a CD system, and I believe it came out around the time of probably after Sega.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a CD system, and it had basically it was set up the way like PlayStation 3 is, where it had cinematic cutscenes. And the way they did theirs is they actually had like real actors in it. So they had one of the games was Demolition Man, and it would have these scenes that you could tell had like Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, and they were specifically filmed for the game. And so they would from the movie, and then they would intersplice a scene that they had shot with Sylvester Stallone, and then it would drop down. He would drop from like I remember the game opening, and he would like drop down from the helicopter, and then as he dropped from the helicopter, you like went into his body, and all of a sudden it became like a first-person shooter. And then the next level, there was like a driving level. There was like a third-person shooter level. There was side-scrolling fight levels. There was, every level was like a different way of playing in a different game. And this was, after, just right after Sega. And then they came out with like, the N64 and even the PlayStation 1. But the PlayStation 1 still, it did not have the interactiveness that the 3DO had. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, just the now we seem to be technologically on the right level, but back in the day, I don't know. But still, I think somebody would be kind of pissed that they would have to, hold something in their hand. And I know that seems, I know somebody, people are going to call me out and say that's crazy. What do you mean with your hand? Like, I'm sorry, but in the future, people are going to be like, dude, they held that shit with their hand. Look at that caveman. Like somebody, they're gonna have like headbands or something like this.
Yep.
There's big man, y'all look stupid holding that thing.
Well, man, we discussed this before, isn't it? I mean, in essence, all that photography is the same as me, whether I put a hammer or anything we call it, it's me putting an art stroke on a canvas or a bit of a pen on a paper or even writing down stuff. These are all just, in essence, is time machines because they're capturing time. And all that's going to happen is, you imagine with more technology, is that that time machine is going to become more and more quicker. And at some point, this is where we overlap into conversations we've had before, but at some point we're going to get to the technology, that time machine, the equipment you've got in your hand, is not only just going to be able to record the sound, it's going to be, you'll be able to do all sorts of it. I mean, we've discussed this offline before about that 3D camera that can, just by listening to the waves of a Dorito packet, pick up the sound that was recorded in another room. And you can imagine that advanced a few years down the line. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. This time machine is being built in our process.
A lot of people are gonna get busted.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna
man.
have all sorts of political scandals and God knows what else. The pedophilia will be rampant, I'm sure. Every House and Senate meeting, when all you hear is like people clapping, and then you see like somebody like say something to somebody else. I'm sure it's all gonna be about just the most disgusting things you could think of.
Yeah,
The government's
yeah.
just gonna be like, oh shit. Even when they, and I'm sure yeah, when they cover their mouth and everything, like it's not gonna matter. Like, sorry, you got bust.
Well, man, in that essence, it's one of the things that, I mean, it goes back to sort of like the last pod that me and you were talking on because you missed last Sundays. But, in the essence of, if we went back 100 years or 100, to the turn of the last century, man, do you know what I mean? We are in essence the aliens. We've got equipment on us. We're taller than them. We're stronger than them. Our knowledge of everything's bigger. I mean, if you'd just landed in Toledo 100 years ago, man, or 120 years ago, man, with what you've got in your hands right now, man, you'd be the god of the world. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing how quickly we are moving. That's the point I'm trying to make. The rate we are advancing.
Yeah, but even still, 100 years, my technology wouldn't have lasted 100 years ago. There's no Wi-Fi. I'd been like, yeah, check out my phone. I can do all the. Oh wait, shit, I can't. Like, damn, y'all don't have Wi-Fi.
That's
And
the
yeah,
thing.
I mean, I think that would be one of the things easily, even as far as like some of the things that Tesla had, as far as free energy and stuff like that, and cellular communication, and how one of the things he had developed was really an untraceable form of energy, and so it was all just kind of harnessed from the atmosphere, and basically, yeah, you would be able to walk around with a cell phone and like literally not have to pay anybody because it would be running itself free based on the ions in the atmosphere. And where's that technology? Like he had it back then, but now it's 2015, and you're still like paying for a plan and data, and um, they're making billions of dollars. Like it's not a nonprofit organization that they're running. So
Exactly.
the technology was obviously there at some point, but now it's that was kind of the idea of was it Morgan? Yeah, when I believe Tesla presented it to J.P. Morgan, where it was like a I don't know if it was a Tesla coil, but it was some sort of giant Tesla machine that he had sticking out of the ground, and he could harness the ions in the atmosphere with this thing, and then he would walk out in the field and just stick lightning bulbs in the grass, and all these lightning bulbs would just light up, not attached to anything. And he was like, "Yeah, it's free energy, like harnessed from the atmosphere." J.P. Morgan was like, "Well, how can we make money off this?" And Tesla goes, "You can't.
Mm.
It's in the ground. Like, do you see? Like, it's free." And J.P. Morgan was like, "Well, what kind of interest do I have in that, though? I'm not going to make money off it." Like, and when technology dies, and it was just like I forget which civilization had it, but somebody had running water, and not running water necessarily, but what was it? Like running bathrooms. Like they were actually able to shit somewhere and have it run out on water through a tunnel system, and then their dynasty or their culture got destroyed, and nobody discovered like running bathroom water for like 200 years or something like that. Like that's pretty brutal. Yeah, I think technology does have an easy way of dying. Yeah, especially when you're looking looking just to shit in a running water.
Well, that's one of those things. I mean, it wouldn't take long. I mean, let's say, so, for whatever reason, we got hit by an earthquake. We got, a big meteor came and slammed into the other side of the planet. And, as we said before, all the information we've got is at the moment in the cloud, like we said, the Wi-Fi that would be completely rendered useless in the future. It's all on machines, which what I mean. We've got, and then as you know, and I advise anyone to go and watch, go and read about or watch anything about what happens to life without people. It takes milliseconds before nature's reclaimed it all. 100 years time, these buildings are crumbling, and even the things that you think are valuable, like the State of Independence, Declaration and stuff. Even the glass atoms in the sunlight would burn the old paper away within X amount of years. And then all traces of this would go. Do you know what I mean? So it's up, we were saying before, us, the arrogance of us now thinking, oh, because we can have electricity and we've got Wi Fi and stuff like that, that this could be lost in an instant is an absolute foolishness. And I think it's one of the mistakes that human beings make because I agree with you. I think one of the things that maybe through human history and civilization, we've had technologies that that for one reason or another we've forgotten. Reasons why did all the Mayans disappear? Why did all the Egyptians disappear? We've had these technologies at times, but we forget them about because we don't lay them out. As you were saying quite rightly, so when Genius Lyons was saying, when we do lay out all the plans for the technology, it's always in chicken scratch. But we're not even doing that right, my man. I mean, we're not even leaving it in stone. We all think because it's in the cloud, it's there. But well, okay, that's great. It's all in the cloud, but even you put it in the cloud and secure, you just hand it over to some other person who's got it in their bank account or their vault they can use. So it's not even a fair use of that. But that is still ethereal. It's in the cloud. Who's writing this in stone? Who's putting it in? I don't know. Who's putting it into granite and putting it on the bottom of the ocean? I don't know. Who's doing this stuff because I don't know. Its whole point was as much as goes back to that last podcast you're on about simulation stuff. As much as it's great to think that we're going to get to the point in the future where we're going to create a simulation and we can argue about that. But man, the arrogance to think that at any point we could all just die. So therefore, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, and the rest is all about doing.
Life is people.
Life is people, people. And then you wake up.
And then you wake up
Exactly, man. And then
with
you
a
wake
with
up.
a with a stomach full of half-digested Snickers bars and some cornbread.
It's true though, man. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the things that I don't know. It's alright. Specifically in your part of the world because I mean, you're sat right in that landmass with that big Yellowstone in there.
I
That goes
don't
off.
think about these people in this part of the world, Tim.
I mean,
I speak for none of them.
I mean, in the landmass that you're actually walking on, and you've got Yellowstone River. That's what I meant. I know. You've got Yellowstone
I'm just hiding in a corner,
in your cornfield.
and yeah, and eating my cornbread, and occasionally I come out and do some things, and that's about it. And I appear on this podcast, hidden away in my cave, my fortress of solitude, where nobody is allowed except the person who makes my cornbread.
Talking of stuff, I've got people. I don't know if you're aware, but next I have these people on Sunday we've got outside your house, and the reason I sort of bring this into the conversation is that everybody out there go and check out their latest video, Hallway Lights, which is absolutely. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. I'm a fan.
Christmas with the ceiling demons. Absolute genius. I mean, boys, that's an absolute genius piece of work. And I'm so looking forward to having you on the podcast on Sunday.
Was that the end? That was a good place to end, Tim.
Where is it? Okay.
We're at 2 hours. I've drank in my tall boy. I need a cigarette.
Well done. Well, I'm gonna.
Unless you wanna keep it going by yourself.
Yeah, man. I can get all there. I can get all deep and meaningful, man.
You're like this. You're like I just want to send my love out to the boys,
Twins.
and I just want to say that I love everyone, and I love all of you. And I was saw it, and like I didn't think about it until you actually mentioned it, but I was going through it, and then it got to the end, and I was like, oh shit, that's right. He said he was all alone, and he panicked, and I was like in my head, and I was like, oh man, this is so hard to watch. You're just like playing with your thumb, like, it's like I just want to take this time right now.
But like I say, next edition we've got outside your house. The Sunday after that, we've got my man No BS, which is fascinating, and then we've got a double edition on the 25th, which is a fantastic one with Robert Leach's return and Thinker,
The
and then we've got
return.
the return of Robert Leach, man, and then we've got Think on that day as well, and we've got my Low Vision, yeah, some bands coming up, man, some really good guests coming up, and yeah, so let's say this Sunday outside your house. For those people out there, go and check them on YouTube. They'll be like this video. Check them on SoundCloud. Looking forward to speaking to them on Sunday. And we'll see you on Sunday. Life is people, people.
Life is people.